everybody. It's Autumn Stringham. I'm here with another little morning chat. Today, the topic in the secret mailbag has been mostly about the difference between, well, people talking about feeling depressed and wondering, what's going to work for them. So, this is an interesting topic because I think depression is a word that is wildly overused in the English language, like love, right? And I've gone here before in conversations, but I don't think I can say it enough. Um, and so, in fact, I went on to my friend just checked to make sure my sound was good because I'm using a mic this time. Thank you, Skylar. It's good. Awesome. Appreciate that. Okay. I went on I went online and I wanted to see what the science is about the stuff that I'm just about to talk to you about. Because I remember taking an art class and we were talking about Renaissance art and Renaissance men. And my art teacher was in love with this idea that melancholia used to be the preferred personality in good old England. So we're talking like a long time ago. But remembering that, I thought, it's interesting how things change over time. So I went in to see what the science is about this, and I actually came across a really interesting abstract. So there was a study published by a Japanese researcher in 2012, and he was sort of debating whether or not the DSM had properly classified depression because they were kind of lumping things all into one category. So this was part of his argument. He said, according to Hamilton, the word depression is used in three different ways. In common speech, it is used to describe the state of sadness that all persons experience when they lose something of importance to them. In psychiatry, the word is used to signify an abnormal mood. It's the same as sadness, unhappiness, misery of everyday experiences, right? Moreover, the depression discussed in psychiatry often has another quality that makes it distinctive. And this quality appears to be related to an inability to experience any pleasure, regardless of experience. Accordingly, we classify these three uses of the term depression into sadness, depression, and melancholia. So that's what I want to talk about today. And this matters to you. Let me tell you why it matters to you. Because if you're thinking that sadness is the same thing as melancholia, you're going to be treated incorrectly when you go looking for help. I'll give you just a super quick example of a time in my life when I experienced both ends of that scale. So I lost my mother to suicide, and my medication was doubled, like on the anniversary of her death. I was just distraught and literally went to the psychiatrist, doubled my medication. I didn't require more medication for something that was real and that actually required feeling. I needed to be able to process that. I know I've talked about this before, but I can't say it enough. Real life experiences are to be experienced. And when a brain is healthy, a healthy brain can experience that and go all the way into sadness and feel it deeply and then let it go. And that's what mourning is about, right? At the same time that I was experiencing real life trauma, real life pain, real darkness, that awful, beautiful depth of despair over real things, I was also experiencing some measure of what I now understand to be melancholia, where I literally could not feel joy sometimes. And then other times I could feel nothing but joy because I was high as a kite on natural chemistry, as somebody experiencing the full swings of bipolar. But in those low swings, oh my heavens, the low swings, the melancholic swing where you literally cannot feel. To me, I often described it, well, to everyone else, I described it as like somebody with their hand over over my forehead. And it was just so dark. And it didn't matter what I was doing or experiencing, all the things that should normally bring joy, I could feel nothing in those moments. That's melancholia. Depression, of course, is a different thing. Depression is something that has happened to me rarely. Really rarely have I ever been sapped of energy and completely disinterested in life, like just not wanting to do the things that I want to do. Whereas in melancholia, I sometimes felt more creative. I had a greater desire to create and to express this darkness and this sadness and this darkness that I felt. So, very different things. Sadness is not depression. Depression is not melancholia. And melancholia is something that I really believe can be mitigated in healthier ways to help people to be able to retain that creative part of themselves and to be able to express the full spectrum of humanity if they have a healthy brain. So, I want to describe people so you probably know somebody who experiences melancholia the way that I'm defining it, okay? And I'm thinking of the people that I know. I made a little list here, which is like my secret list, but I'll describe them. Somebody who's prone to melancholia is an artist, like a wild artist, a philosopher, deep thoughts because that's where they go in melancholy. They go to the depths of humanity and they feel it in a different way, and it's not joyful, but it's deep. Somebody who's a muser or a musician, someone who's just a creative in general, impulsive, kind of that singular personality who would just be totally brilliant if they could just finish the dang project. I know you know them. I know I've been that person. And somebody who experiences melancholia, that inability to actually create the chemistry of joy, is likely an addict because they are constantly seeking a high in a different way. So, seeking it's a false high, but and it would be a temporary and fleeting high. But a lot of the people who I see as melancholics are people who who tend toward major self-medication, major addictive personalities, and they're just constantly seeking, they're just grasping at ground that is constantly moving. If they're fortunate, before they get healthy, they swing out of that and into some highs where they will feel the elation of chemistry. And then typically it just goes too far. It's just out of balance. So there are a lot of answers for that. I think the first thing is understanding what it is that somebody's actually dealing with, being able to see the good, see the beauty that comes in a personality that tends to go on a full pendulum, and then help them to find a way to bring the pendulum in while protecting that creative, beautiful side of them. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. I'm only speaking for myself on this one, but I know you know people just like me who, when they're going full pendulum swing, and then they get medicated, the medication choices are usually things that are just like gonna just suck the life out of them and make them sleep a lot, right? You get into medications that are really heavy sedatives, and big uppers, and then there's you got to balance it between cycles, right? And that's really really hard to take because it kills creativity. And for somebody who experiences those swings and is naturally an artist, a creative, and driven by those depths of feeling and expression, that's the most painful place you can put them. And honestly, I think it leads to suicide so many times when people feel like in order to find health, they have to be completely changed. or they experience that terrible loss of personality, and that is something that I think I've learned how to protect against. I am so grateful for the inspiration and the discovery that happened in my life that allowed me to move away from treatments that were numbing and painful to me, and find something that could create a foundation of health for my brain so that my swings are not out of control, full pendulum, but I can still feel everything. And I love that. I love having a healthy enough brain that I'm predictable. I function every day. I can feel joy, but I can also feel really deep sorrow, and I think I'm really great at expressing that. And I've learned to live a full spectrum life in a way that isn't going to kill me. And I'm not seeking a high. And that's the big clue to know that you're healthy, is when you feel balanced in your own brain, and you don't have to go seeking those temporary highs. And anyway, that's what I love to teach. I think that for the mom that I was speaking with a lot recently in concern for her child, I just want you to know, beautiful personality, incredible, incredible heart, and completely capable of finding health within a normal realm for your kid. And there's so many factors to that, but a good part of that is the stuff that we teach here on Feel Better. And if you've got a friend who is confused about sadness, depression, or melancholia, get them on this page, because we can talk about that and find ways to help them feel a whole lot better. So with that, that's the end of that mailbag. I think I'm going to post this reference to this study. I think it's really interesting. I just read the abstract and was fascinated. I'm going to go deep dive into that and see what else this Japanese researcher had to say. And we'll catch you guys on the next round. Okay, bye bye.